Ever felt held back by your limitations? The audiobook, Constraint Mastery, turns scarcity into strategic advantage, reveals how to transform constraints into catalysts for growth. You'll learn to embrace challenges as opportunities, igniting creativity and enhancing decision-making. Don't risk missing out on the power to thrive in any circumstance. Discover how to make scarcity your secret weapon for personal excellence and innovation. Before we go on, I invite you to download the free bundle, which contains the ebook version of this book and an executive summary of all the chapters with the key takeaways. Studies show that engaging with content through multiple formats significantly enhances learning and retention. Click on the first link in the description to claim your free bundle now and maximize your learning potential. Now it's free, but it won't be for long, so make sure to grab it while you can. Chapter 1. Embrace Limits. In a world that often celebrates abundance and unlimited possibilities, the idea of embracing limits might seem counterintuitive. Yet, it is precisely within the confines of our constraints that we find the most potent catalysts for personal growth and innovation. This chapter invites you to embark on a transformative journey, one that will reshape your perception of limitations and unlock your potential for extraordinary achievement. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, open field. The sheer expanse of possibilities might overwhelm you, leaving you unsure of where to begin or which direction to take. Now, picture that same field with clear boundaries, pathways, and signposts. Suddenly, your focus sharpens, your mind engages, and you find yourself energized by the challenge of navigating this defined space. This is the power of embracing limits. Far from being obstacles, constraints serve as the very framework that channels our efforts, refines our focus, and propels us toward meaningful progress. Whether you're facing tight budgets, limited time, or skill gaps, these perceived shortcomings are in fact hidden opportunities waiting to be harnessed. As we delve into this chapter, you'll discover how to transform your relationship with limitations. You'll learn to welcome constraints as valuable allies in your personal development journey, guiding you toward more strategic thinking and innovative problem-solving. This shift in perspective is not just about accepting limits, it's about actively seeking them out as tools for growth. The journey begins with recognizing that our brains are wired to respond to frameworks. By acknowledging and reframing our constraints, we influence how our minds process challenges. This cognitive shift is the key to unlocking more effective problem-solving strategies and sustaining long-term motivation. Consider the artist working within the confines of a canvas. The boundaries of the frame don't limit creativity. They provide a structure that focuses and intensifies the artistic expression. Similarly, in our personal and professional lives, constraints can serve as the canvas upon which we paint our most brilliant ideas and achievements. As you progress through this book, you'll develop an initial recognition of constraints as beneficial challenges. This foundational shift will allow you to begin cultivating a mindset that accepts rather than resists limitations. You'll establish a deep understanding of how embracing limits can refine your focus, leading to more purposeful and impactful actions in every area of your life. But this is just the beginning. Over time, as you continue to apply these principles, you'll notice a profound transformation. Your resilience and adaptability across various life situations will be enhanced. You'll develop a sustained ability to innovate under pressure and resource scarcity, turning what once seemed like insurmountable obstacles into stepping stones for success. Perhaps most importantly, you'll embark on a journey of continuous personal growth through deliberate engagement with constraints. Each limitation you encounter will become an opportunity to refine your skills, expand your creativity, and push the boundaries of what you thought possible. To achieve these outcomes, we'll focus on several crucial steps. First, we'll work on identifying the core nature of your personal constraints. This process of self-discovery will reveal the unique set of limitations that shape your current reality. Next, we'll practice reframing techniques that will help you see these limits not as barriers, but as opportunities for growth and innovation. As we progress, you'll learn to integrate disciplined approaches to daily challenges, turning constraint management into a habitual practice. Throughout this journey, we'll continuously refine your mental frameworks, ensuring they align with your long-term goals and evolving circumstances. This carefully structured approach ensures a logical progression from recognition to application. By starting with awareness and gradually moving towards action, we lay a strong foundation that will support your growth throughout the rest of the book and beyond. Prioritizing mindset shifts before diving into tactical approaches allows for deeper, more sustainable change. Understanding the nature of constraints is crucial to this process. We'll explore the definition of constraints and their role in personal development, distinguishing between internal limitations, such as beliefs or habits, and external ones, like time or resources. You'll come to appreciate how constraints refine focus and eliminate excess effort, streamlining your path to success. One of the most significant challenges in this journey is overcoming resistance to limitations. We'll identify common emotional reactions to constraints, such as frustration or anxiety, and learn to replace them with curiosity and acceptance. Through this process, you'll develop a comfort in facing uncertainty and challenge, transforming what once felt threatening into exciting opportunities for growth. As we set the stage for personal growth, you'll commit to a long-term relationship with constraints. This commitment is founded on the understanding that true growth comes not from avoiding limitations, but from adapting to and thriving within them. You'll approach the rest of your journey with an openness and willingness that will amplify your learning and accelerate your progress. The principles you'll learn in this chapter extend far beyond personal development. They have the power to revolutionize how you approach every aspect of your life. In your career, you might find that budget cuts or tight deadlines, rather than hindering your work, actually spark innovative solutions and more efficient processes. In your personal relationships, understanding and embracing the limitations of others could lead to deeper empathy and more meaningful connections. Consider the entrepreneur who, faced with limited startup capital, is forced to think creatively about resource allocation. This constraint might lead to a leaner, more agile business model that ultimately outperforms better-funded competitors. Or think of the athlete who, recovering from an injury, develops new training techniques that not only compensate for their temporary limitation, but end up enhancing their overall performance. These examples illustrate a fundamental truth. Constraints are not just challenges to be overcome. They are catalysts for innovation and excellence. By embracing limits, you're not settling for less. You're opening yourself up to new possibilities and untapped potential. As you progress through this book, you'll find that each chapter builds upon the foundation laid here. The mindset and techniques you develop for embracing limits will serve as a cornerstone for more advanced strategies in resource management, time leverage, and sustainable innovation. Remember, the journey of embracing constraints is not about reaching a final destination. It's about developing a lifelong practice of turning limitations into advantages. With each challenge you face, you'll become more adept at seeing the opportunities hidden within constraints. Your ability to innovate, adapt, and thrive in any circumstance will continually grow. The path ahead may not always be easy. There will be moments of doubt, times when old habits of resistance resurface. But armed with the insights and techniques from this chapter, you'll be equipped to navigate these challenges with confidence and grace. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on the constraints currently present in your life. Rather than viewing them as obstacles, try to see them as the unique set of conditions that will shape your growth and success. Embrace these limits, for they are the very tools that will carve your path to extraordinary achievement. In the chapters that follow, we'll delve deeper into specific strategies for leveraging constraints across various aspects of your life. You'll learn to reframe scarcity, master time management, and design innovative solutions within tight parameters. But for now, focus on cultivating this fundamental shift in perspective. Embrace your limits and watch as a world of possibilities unfolds before you. The journey of constraint mastery is just beginning, and the transformations that await you are boundless. As you turn the page to the next chapter, carry with you this newfound appreciation for limits. For in the dance between constraint and creativity, you'll discover the rhythm of true personal growth and innovation. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Grow to the Top and activate notifications to receive more self-improvement tips that will supercharge your growth. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2, Reframe Scarcity. As we embark on this chapter, I invite you to consider a paradox. What if the very thing you've been trying to avoid is actually the key to unlocking your greatest potential? What if the limitations you've been fighting against are, in fact, your most powerful allies in personal growth and innovation? We often view scarcity as an unwelcome guest, a thief that robs us of possibilities. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if scarcity, in its various forms, is not a barrier but a gateway to extraordinary achievements? In the previous chapter, we learned to embrace limits. Now, we're taking a bold step further. We're not just accepting constraints, we're actively seeking them out, recognizing them as catalysts for ingenuity and strategic action. This shift in perspective is more than just a mental exercise. It's a fundamental reimagining of how we approach challenges and opportunities in our lives. Think about the last time you faced a significant limitation. Perhaps it was a tight deadline, a limited budget, or a lack of resources. How did you feel? Frustrated? Anxious? Now, imagine approaching that same situation with a sense of excitement and curiosity. Imagine seeing that constraint not as a roadblock, but as a springboard for creativity and innovation. This is the essence of reframing scarcity. It's about transforming our relationship with limitations, moving from a mindset of lack to one of possibility. But why is this shift so crucial? When we channel our efforts into high-impact areas, we maximize our potential for meaningful outcomes. Scarcity, when viewed through the right lens, becomes an engine for creative problem-solving. It forces us to think differently, to challenge assumptions, and to uncover solutions we might never have considered in conditions of abundance. Consider for a moment, how often have your most innovative ideas emerged when resources were plentiful? More likely, they've sprung from moments of constraint, when the usual paths were blocked, and you were forced to forge new ones. This reframing is not about denying the reality of limitations. It's about changing how we perceive and respond to them. It's about recognizing that within every constraint lies a hidden opportunity, waiting to be uncovered. But how do we begin this process of redefining scarcity as opportunity? It starts with a simple yet powerful shift in perspective. Instead of focusing on what's missing, we turn our attention to what's present. We begin to identify the hidden value within what seems to be lacking. This might sound abstract, so let's make it concrete. Think about a project you're working on that feels constrained by limited resources. Now, instead of lamenting what you don't have, focus intensely on what you do have. What skills, knowledge, or assets are at your disposal? How might these be leveraged in new and creative ways to achieve your goals? As you practice this reframing, you'll start to uncover overlooked strengths and possibilities. You'll find that limitations often serve as powerful filters, stripping away the non-essential and bringing into sharp focus what truly matters. This process of reframing isn't just a one-time exercise. It's about strengthening mental models that welcome resourcefulness. It's about training your mind to automatically seek out the opportunities within constraints rather than being paralyzed by them. As you cultivate this mindset, you'll find strength in limited conditions. Constraints will become your allies in focusing on priorities. When resources are scarce, we're forced to make tough choices about what truly matters. This clarity can be incredibly liberating, freeing us from the paralysis of too many options and directing our energy towards what's most important. Moreover, tight parameters often lead to unconventional solutions. When the usual paths are blocked, we're compelled to think creatively, to explore uncharted territories. Some of the most groundbreaking innovations in history have emerged from severely constrained environments. Gradually, you'll come to accept scarcity not as an unfortunate circumstance, but as a natural, productive state. You'll recognize that limitations are not just challenges to be overcome, but integral parts of the creative process. But how do we integrate this reframed view of scarcity into our daily lives? It's one thing to understand these concepts intellectually. It's another to embody them in our day-to-day actions and decisions. One effective approach is to create personal reminders that help maintain a positive scarcity mindset. This could be as simple as a note on your desk or a recurring reminder on your phone, prompting you to look for the opportunities within your current constraints. Regular reflection is another powerful tool. Set aside time each week to review the challenges you faced and how you've approached them. What constraints did you encounter? How did you respond? Were you able to find innovative solutions? This practice not only reinforces your new perspective, but also helps you identify areas for improvement. To truly internalize this reframed view of scarcity, consider incorporating some practical exercises into your routine. One such exercise is a daily mental reframing drill. Each day, identify a constraint you're facing and challenge yourself to find at least one benefit or opportunity within it. This might feel forced or artificial at first, but with practice, it will become second nature. Another valuable practice is to keep a weekly log of innovations sparked by scarcity. Document instances where limitations led to creative solutions or unexpected breakthroughs. Over time, this log will serve as a powerful reminder of the positive role constraints can play in your life and work. As you embark on this journey of reframing scarcity, it's important to have a clear vision of what success looks like. At a basic level, success might mean consistently handling small constraints calmly without the stress and frustration that often accompany limitations. As you progress, you might find yourself regularly transforming limitations into strategic actions. Instead of being derailed by constraints, you'll use them as launching pads for innovative solutions and approaches. The ultimate goal is to operate from a mindset that sees all scarcity as fuel for growth. In this state, you'll welcome constraints as opportunities for learning and innovation. You'll approach challenges with curiosity and excitement, knowing that within each limitation lies the seed of a new possibility. Of course, this journey isn't without its pitfalls. One common challenge is overemphasizing constraints to the point where you feel trapped. If you find yourself in this situation, it's important to step back and conduct a balanced perspective check. Remind yourself that while constraints can be powerful tools, they're not the whole story. There's always room for flexibility and creativity within limitations. Another potential stumbling block is failing to find any positive angle in a particularly challenging situation. When this happens, don't despair. Instead, try a structured brainstorming method to uncover hidden opportunities. Sometimes, we need to approach a problem from multiple angles before we can see its hidden potential. As we conclude this chapter, I want you to reflect on how your perception of scarcity has already begun to shift. Perhaps you're starting to see limitations in a new light, recognizing the potential they hold for growth and innovation. Remember, reframing scarcity is not about denying the reality of constraints. It's about changing how we relate to them, transforming our response from one of frustration to one of curiosity and creativity. It's about recognizing that often our greatest achievements emerge not from abundance, but from the fertile ground of limitation. As you move forward, carry with you this new perspective on scarcity. Let it inform your decisions, guide your problem solving, and inspire your creativity. Embrace the constraints you encounter, knowing that within them lie opportunities for growth and innovation beyond what you might have imagined. And as we look ahead to the next chapter, prepare yourself for a journey into a realm where the very fabric of your daily life will be transformed. We'll explore how a seemingly mundane aspect of existence can become a powerful ally in your quest for personal growth and achievement. But for now, let the seeds of this new perspective on scarcity take root, nurturing them with each challenge you face and each constraint you encounter. Chapter 3, Time Leverage. Have you ever noticed how the most productive moments in your life often occur when you're racing against the clock? There's a peculiar magic in those final hours before a deadline, a surge of focus and creativity that seems to materialize out of thin air. What if you could harness that energy not just in moments of crisis, but as a consistent force in your daily life? As we delve into this chapter, we're about to uncover a paradoxical truth. The very thing that often feels like our greatest enemy can become our most powerful ally. We're going to explore a dimension of our lives that's universally shared, yet uniquely experienced by each of us. It's a resource more valuable than money, more fleeting than opportunity, and more equalizing than any other force in our lives. You might think you know what we're talking about, but I urge you to suspend your assumptions. The concept we're about to explore is both familiar and foreign, simple yet profoundly complex in its implications. It's something we all possess in equal measure, yet we use it in vastly different ways. Let's begin by considering a common scenario. You have a project due in 2 weeks. For the first week and a half, progress is slow. You tell yourself you have plenty of time, but as the deadline looms closer, something shifts. Suddenly, your focus sharpens. Ideas flow more freely. Tasks that seemed daunting now feel manageable. In those final days, or even hours, you accomplish more than you did in all the time leading up to it. What changed? The project didn't become easier. Your skills didn't magically improve. The only thing that shifted was your perception of time. This phenomenon is at the heart of what we call time leverage. It's not just about managing time more efficiently, though that's certainly part of it. It's about fundamentally reframing our relationship with time, transforming it from a source of stress into a wellspring of productivity and creativity. The importance of this shift cannot be overstated. When we learn to leverage time effectively, we naturally curb procrastination. The tendency to put things off diminishes when we view time as a valuable, limited resource rather than an endless expanse. Moreover, we begin to value every moment for its potential to contribute to our personal growth and achievement. But how do we make this shift? It starts with understanding time as a constructive limit rather than a constraining one. Deadlines, for instance, aren't just arbitrary endpoints. They create a productive tension that can drive us to perform at our best. The key is learning to distinguish between healthy pressure that motivates us and harmful stress that paralyzes us. Consider the difference between these two scenarios. In one, you're working on a project with no defined end date. In the other, you have a clear deadline. Which scenario is more likely to produce results? For most of us, the deadline provides a necessary structure, a framework within which our efforts can be focused and our progress measured. This is where the concept of Parkinson's law comes into play. This principle states that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. In other words, if you give yourself a week to complete a task, it will take a week. If you give yourself 2 days, you'll find a way to get it done in 2 days. By consciously tightening our time frames, we can create an environment that naturally enhances our focus and efficiency. But leveraging time isn't just about working faster or under pressure. It's about working smarter. It's about recognizing that urgency, when properly harnessed, can be a powerful impetus for action. The goal is to create a sense of purposeful urgency in our daily lives, not as a source of stress, but as a catalyst for productivity. So how do we put these principles into practice? One effective technique is the implementation of time blocks for concentrated work. This involves setting aside specific periods dedicated to particular tasks, free from distractions. During these blocks, you focus solely on the task at hand, leveraging the power of undivided attention. For example, you might set aside 2 hours in the morning for your most challenging work, when your mind is fresh. During this time, you close your email, silence your phone, and focus entirely on the task before you. You'll likely find that you accomplish more in these 2 focused hours than you would in twice that time under normal, distraction-filled conditions. Another crucial aspect of time leverage is identifying and eliminating time wasters. These are the activities that consume our time without providing proportional value. They might be obvious, like mindless scrolling through social media, or more subtle, like inefficient work processes or unnecessary meetings. To combat these time wasters, start by keeping a log of your activities for a week. Be honest and detailed. At the end of the week, review your log. You'll likely be surprised by how much time is consumed by low-value activities. Once you've identified these time sinks, you can take steps to eliminate or minimize them. Developing a decisive approach to task selection is another key component of time leverage. This means being clear about your priorities and having the courage to say no to activities that don't align with your goals. It's about quality over quantity, focusing on the tasks that will have the greatest impact rather than trying to do everything. As you begin to implement these strategies, you'll find yourself developing sustainable time habits. These are practices that over time become second nature. They're not just techniques you apply occasionally, but a new way of relating to time that permeates every aspect of your life. One way to cultivate these habits is by turning time-limited actions into long-term routines. For instance, if you find that you're most productive when working in 25-minute focused bursts, make this a regular part of your day. Set a timer for 25 minutes and work intensely, then take a short break. Repeat this cycle throughout your workday. It's important to periodically reassess your time management strategies. What works for you today may not be as effective 6 months from now. Be willing to adjust and experiment. The goal is to continually expand your capacity to do more with less time, not by working longer hours, but by working more efficiently within the hours you have. To reinforce these concepts, consider incorporating some practical exercises into your routine. One effective practice is to implement daily timed task sessions. Choose a task, set a timer for a specific duration, say 30 minutes, and work on that task with complete focus until the timer goes off. This trains your brain to work efficiently within set time constraints. Weekly reviews are another valuable tool. At the end of each week, take some time to assess how you've used your time. What worked well? Where did you struggle? Use these insights to adjust your approach for the coming week. As you embark on this journey of time leverage, it's helpful to envision what success might look like. At a basic level, success could mean consistently completing tasks within set deadlines. This alone can significantly reduce stress and increase your sense of control over your life. As you progress, you might find yourself not just meeting deadlines, but doing so with increased productivity and reduced stress. You're accomplishing more, but feeling less overwhelmed. Tasks that once seemed daunting now feel manageable because you've learned to break them down and tackle them efficiently. The ultimate goal is to develop a natural, disciplined rhythm that effortlessly meets your objectives. In this state, effective time management isn't something you consciously think about. It's simply how you operate. You instinctively know how to allocate your time for maximum impact, and you move through your days with a sense of purpose and control. Of course, as with any significant change, there can be pitfalls along the way. One common issue is overscheduling, which can lead to burnout. In your enthusiasm to maximize every moment, you might find yourself packing your days so full that you leave no room for rest or unexpected events. If you find yourself in this situation, it's important to step back and adjust your time blocks to more realistic lengths. Remember, the goal is sustainable productivity, not short-term intensity followed by exhaustion. Another challenge you might face is difficulty focusing, even within your designated time blocks. This is where implementing stricter boundaries on interruptions becomes crucial. This might mean turning off notifications on your devices, finding a quiet space to work, or communicating your need for uninterrupted time to colleagues and family members. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on how your perception of time has begun to shift. Perhaps you're starting to see the minutes and hours of your day not as a relentless march towards deadlines, but as a canvas on which you can paint your achievements. Maybe you're beginning to feel a sense of excitement about the potential hidden within each moment. Remember, the journey of time leverage is not about becoming a productivity machine. It's about creating a harmonious relationship with time that allows you to live more fully, achieve your goals more easily, and find greater satisfaction in your daily life. It's about transforming time from a source of stress into a powerful ally in your personal growth and success. As we look ahead to the next chapter, prepare yourself to explore a dimension of constraint that goes beyond the ticking of the clock. We'll delve into a realm where limitations become the very building blocks of innovation, where the walls that seem to hem us in actually provide the structure for our greatest creations. But for now, let the seeds of this new perspective on time take root, nurturing them with each task you tackle and each moment you consciously leverage. Chapter 4, Design Within. Imagine standing in a room with blank walls stretching endlessly in every direction. You're tasked with creating something remarkable, but where do you begin? The possibilities are limitless, yet paralyzing in their vastness. Now, picture the same scenario, but this time, the room has defined boundaries. Suddenly, your mind starts to race with ideas, each one shaped by the contours of your environment. This chapter invites you to explore a counterintuitive truth. The secret to unleashing your creative potential might not lie in unlimited freedom, but in embracing and working within carefully defined constraints. We're about to embark on a journey that will challenge your perceptions of limitations and boundaries, transforming them from obstacles into catalysts for innovation and personal growth. The concept we're delving into is both ancient and cutting edge, employed by master craftsmen throughout history and championed by modern innovators. It's a principle that, once understood, has the power to revolutionize not just how you approach problems, but how you view your own capabilities and the world around you. At its core, this chapter is about redefining your relationship with constraints. It's about seeing the walls that surround you not as barriers, but as the very foundations upon which you can build something extraordinary. We're going to explore how working within boundaries can actually expand your creative horizons, leading to solutions that are not just functional, but elegant and innovative. But why is this approach so important? In a world that often celebrates unlimited options and boundless resources, the idea of voluntarily imposing constraints might seem counterproductive. Yet it's precisely these limitations that can stimulate our most creative thinking. When we're forced to work within defined parameters, our minds are challenged to find novel solutions, to see possibilities where others see only obstacles. Moreover, this boundary-driven approach builds a unique kind of confidence. It's the confidence that comes from knowing you can create remarkable outcomes with whatever resources you have at hand. This skill is invaluable in both personal and professional contexts, allowing you to adapt and thrive in any circumstance. As we delve deeper into this concept, you'll discover that creativity isn't about having unlimited options. It's about making the most of the options you do have. Constraints, far from being restrictive, actually serve as prompts for imaginative solutions. They provide a framework within which your creativity can flourish, giving direction to your efforts and focus to your ideas. Think about some of the most innovative solutions you've encountered. Chances are, they weren't born out of abundance, but out of necessity. They emerged when someone looked at a set of limitations and saw not barriers, but building blocks. This is the essence of constraint-driven creativity. But how do we cultivate this mindset? How do we train ourselves to see limitations as opportunities rather than obstacles? It starts with a shift in perspective. Instead of lamenting what you lack, focus intensely on what you have. Use your constraints as a lens to filter out extraneous elements and zero in on what's truly essential. This approach borrows heavily from the principles of design thinking and minimalism. In design thinking, constraints are viewed as the starting point for innovation, not as hurdles to be overcome. Minimalism, on the other hand, teaches us that by stripping away the non-essential, we can often arrive at more elegant and effective solutions. To put these principles into practice, we need a systematic approach to constraint-based design. This begins with breaking challenges down into their core components. When faced with a problem, resist the urge to immediately seek solutions. Instead, take time to understand the fundamental elements of the challenge. What are the non-negotiable aspects? What are the true constraints you're working within? Once you've identified these core components, you can start iterating solutions within your set parameters. This is where the magic happens. By working within clearly defined boundaries, you force your mind to explore avenues it might otherwise overlook. You'll find yourself combining ideas in novel ways, repurposing resources, and uncovering hidden synergies. As you generate and refine these solutions, maintain a laser focus on utility and effectiveness. Remember, the goal isn't just to create something within the constraints, but to create something that truly solves the problem at hand. This disciplined approach often leads to solutions that are not just adequate, but superior to those developed without constraints. The real power of this approach lies in its ability to become a natural part of your problem-solving toolkit. As you practice these techniques, you'll find yourself automatically applying design principles to personal tasks and challenges. Each confined solution process becomes a learning opportunity, honing your skills and expanding your creative capacity. To truly embed this constraint-led creativity into your life, consider incorporating some practical exercises into your routine. One effective practice is to design a simplified work routine using fewer tools than you're accustomed to. Challenge yourself to accomplish your tasks with a deliberately limited set of resources. You might be surprised at how this constraint forces you to find more efficient and creative ways of working. Another valuable exercise is to practice brainstorming multiple answers to a single problem under strict resource limits. Give yourself a challenge, perhaps a personal or professional goal, and then impose artificial constraints. Maybe you can only use resources you already have on hand, or you have to solve the problem within a very tight time frame. Push yourself to generate as many solutions as possible within these constraints. As you engage in these exercises, pay attention to how your mind adapts to working within limitations. Notice how the constraints guide your thinking, forcing you to consider angles you might otherwise overlook. This is the essence of constraint-driven creativity in action. Of course, as with any skill, mastering this approach takes time and practice. In the beginning, you might find yourself consistently generating functional solutions within given limits. This is a great start. It means you're learning to work effectively within constraints rather than being paralyzed by them. As you continue to hone your skills, you'll likely find yourself producing increasingly elegant and simplified approaches to complex problems. You'll develop a knack for distilling challenges down to their essence and crafting solutions that are both effective and efficient. The ultimate goal is to seamlessly integrate constraint-driven creativity into all areas of your life. At this level, working within limitations becomes second nature. You'll find yourself naturally framing challenges in terms of their constraints and using those very limitations as springboards for innovation. However, this journey is not without its potential pitfalls. One common issue is the tendency to overcomplicate solutions. In our enthusiasm to be creative within constraints, we sometimes lose sight of the core problem we're trying to solve. If you find yourself in this situation, take a step back. Return to the basics and reassess the core requirements of your challenge. Often, the most elegant solutions are also the simplest. Another challenge you might face is feeling stuck or creatively blocked. When this happens, don't be afraid to shift your perspective. Try approaching the problem from a different angle or temporarily loosen one constraint to see if it sparks new ideas. Remember, the constraints are tools to enhance your creativity, not rigid rules to stifle it. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on how your perception of limitations has begun to shift. Perhaps you're starting to see the boundaries in your life not as restrictive walls, but as the edges of a canvas on which you can create something extraordinary. Maybe you're beginning to feel a sense of excitement when faced with constraints, knowing that they're not obstacles to your success, but the very tools you'll use to achieve it. Remember, the journey of designing within constraints is not about becoming resigned to limitations. It's about developing a superpower, the ability to create remarkable outcomes regardless of the resources at your disposal. It's about transforming every constraint into an opportunity for innovation and growth. As we look ahead to the next chapter, prepare yourself to zoom out and gain a broader perspective on the landscape of your challenges. We'll explore a dimension of constraint mastery that will allow you to navigate the most complex terrains with confidence and clarity. But for now, let the principles of designing within constraints settle into your mind, ready to be applied to the next challenge that comes your way. Chapter 5, Map Constraints. Imagine you're about to embark on a journey through uncharted territory. You have a destination in mind, but the path is unclear, filled with potential obstacles and hidden challenges. How would you prepare? What tool would be most valuable to you in this scenario? As we delve into this chapter, we're going to explore a powerful approach that can transform the way you navigate the complex landscape of your personal and professional life. We're about to uncover a method that will allow you to see your challenges with newfound clarity, turning vague, looming obstacles into clearly defined landmarks that can actually guide your progress. This chapter introduces a concept that might initially seem counterintuitive. We're going to talk about how to harness the very things that you might perceive as holding you back. It's an approach that doesn't just acknowledge your limitations, but actively uses them as a compass to direct your growth and development. But why is this so crucial? In our daily lives, we often feel the weight of our constraints pressing down on us. These limitations can feel overwhelming, like a fog that obscures our path forward. They might be financial restrictions, emotional barriers, or environmental factors that seem to hem us in from all sides. The problem is, when these constraints remain vague and undefined, they can paralyze us, preventing us from taking meaningful action. This is where our journey begins. We're going to learn how to lift that fog, to see our constraints not as a shapeless, oppressive force, but as distinct elements that we can identify, understand, and ultimately use to our advantage. By doing so, we transform these perceived burdens into valuable tools for personal growth and strategic decision-making. The approach we're about to explore is rooted in the principles of scenario analysis and strategic planning. These are techniques used by some of the world's most successful organizations to navigate uncertainty and make informed decisions. But we're going to adapt these powerful tools for personal use, applying them to the unique landscape of your individual challenges and aspirations. At its core, this method is about gaining clarity. It's about taking the time to really understand the nature of the constraints that affect your life. By clearly identifying and categorizing these limitations, you create a map that provides actionable insights. This organized awareness prevents you from feeling overwhelmed by ambiguous limits, instead giving you a sense of control and direction. So, how do we begin this process of mapping our constraints? The first step is to systematically list out the limitations you face. This might seem simple, but it's a crucial foundation. Start by considering different areas of your life: your career, your personal relationships, your financial situation, your skills and knowledge. What are the constraints you encounter in each of these domains? As you compile this list, it's important to distinguish between temporary and long-term restrictions. Some constraints might be short-term hurdles that you can overcome with focused effort, while others might be more permanent features of your landscape that you need to learn to work within. Recognizing this difference can help you allocate your energy more effectively. Next, evaluate which constraints hold the greatest influence over your life and goals. Not all limitations are created equal. Some may have a profound impact on multiple areas of your life, while others might be more peripheral. By identifying the most influential constraints, you can prioritize your efforts and focus on the areas that will yield the greatest returns. Now that you have a clearer picture of your constraints, it's time to visualize this landscape. This is where the real power of constraint mapping comes into play. By categorizing your limitations into clear structures, you begin to see patterns and relationships that weren't apparent before. This visual representation can be a powerful tool for guiding strategic decisions. Think of it like creating a topographical map of your personal terrain. Just as a physical map shows mountains, valleys, and rivers, your constraint map will reveal the peaks of your most significant challenges, the valleys of your resources and opportunities, and the rivers of your ongoing commitments and responsibilities. As you create this map, you might start to notice interesting patterns emerging. Perhaps certain constraints cluster together, suggesting a common underlying factor. Or maybe you'll see how one limitation influences several different areas of your life. These insights can be invaluable in helping you make more informed decisions about where to focus your efforts. But a map is only useful if you actually use it to navigate. That's why the next step is learning to use your constraint map as a decision-making tool. Before taking action on any significant decision, reference your map. How does this choice interact with your known constraints? Does it help you overcome a limitation, or does it risk running you into a major obstacle? As you use your map, you'll find that it's not a static document. Your constraints will evolve over time, and so should your map. Regularly updating your constraint diagram ensures that you're always working with the most current information. This dynamic approach allows you to adapt your strategies in real time, responding to changes in your personal landscape as they occur. To really embed this practice into your life, consider some practical exercises. One effective approach is to create a personal constraint chart and commit to reviewing it regularly. This could be a physical document that you keep in a visible place, or a digital file that you update periodically. The key is to make it a living document that reflects your current reality. Another valuable exercise is to periodically rearrange your constraint categories. By looking at your limitations from different angles, you might reveal hidden connections or new opportunities. For example, try grouping your constraints by their source, internal versus external, their duration, short-term versus long-term, or their impact, major versus minor. Each new arrangement might offer fresh insights. As you become more adept at mapping and navigating your constraints, you'll likely see a progression in your outcomes. At a basic level, you'll develop a fundamental awareness of your key personal constraints. This alone can be transformative, giving you a clearer picture of your personal landscape. As you continue to practice, you might find yourself systematically using your constraint maps to inform daily decisions. This represents a significant leap forward as you're now actively using your understanding of your limitations to guide your choices and actions. The ultimate goal is to reach a state where you're continually refining your strategies, guided by a dynamic constraint map. At this level, your map becomes an integral part of your decision-making process, allowing you to navigate even the most complex challenges with confidence and clarity. Of course, as with any powerful tool, there are potential pitfalls to be aware of. One common issue is the tendency to overload your map with too many details. While it's important to be thorough, an overly complex map can become overwhelming and lose its utility. If you find yourself in this situation, take a step back and focus on simplifying your categories. Remember, the goal is clarity, not exhaustive detail. Another challenge is the risk of ignoring changes in your constraint landscape. Our limitations are not static, they evolve over time. A constraint that was significant a year ago might be less relevant now, while new limitations may have emerged. It's crucial to regularly update your map to reflect these shifts. Set aside time periodically to reassess your constraints and adjust your map accordingly. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on how this approach might transform your perspective on your personal challenges. Instead of seeing your limitations as insurmountable obstacles, you now have a tool to view them as defined elements of your personal landscape. Each constraint becomes a landmark, helping you navigate your path to growth and success. Remember, the process of mapping your constraints is not about dwelling on your limitations. It's about gaining a clear, actionable understanding of your personal terrain. It's about transforming vague, overwhelming challenges into concrete elements that you can address strategically. By mapping your constraints, you're not just identifying obstacles, you're charting a course for your personal and professional development. As we look ahead to the next chapter, prepare yourself to zoom in on a crucial aspect of your newly mapped terrain. We'll explore how to leverage your understanding of constraints to make the most of your most precious resources. But for now, let the practice of constraint mapping settle into your mind, ready to illuminate the path forward in every area of your life. Chapter 6, Focus Resources. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a vast, untamed wilderness. In your hands, you hold a small set of tools, perhaps a compass, a canteen of water, and a few other essentials. The expanse before you is filled with countless paths, each promising its own adventure. But you know that your resources are limited. You can't explore every trail, climb every peak, or ford every river. How do you decide where to invest your precious energy and time? This scenario mirrors a fundamental challenge we all face in our personal and professional lives. We're constantly confronted with an abundance of options, opportunities, and demands on our attention. Yet our resources, be they time, energy, or material assets, are inherently finite. The question then becomes, how do we navigate this landscape of possibility to achieve our most meaningful goals? As we embark on this chapter, we're going to explore a powerful approach that can transform how you allocate your resources and, by extension, how you shape your life's journey. We're about to delve into a method that doesn't just help you manage your resources more effectively, it fundamentally reshapes your relationship with them. But before we reveal the full scope of this approach, let's consider why it's so crucial. In our modern world, we're bombarded with demands for our attention and energy. Social media, work obligations, personal commitments, they all vie for a piece of our limited resources. Without a clear strategy for allocation, it's easy to find ourselves spread thin, investing our precious time and effort into activities that don't truly align with our deepest values and aspirations. This scattering of resources often leads to a sense of frustration and stagnation. We might feel busy, even overwhelmed, yet struggle to make meaningful progress towards our most important goals. It's like trying to fill a dozen buckets with a single jug of water. You end up with a little in each, but not enough in any to make a real difference. So what's the solution? How do we ensure that every resource we deploy serves a meaningful purpose? How do we prevent the dilution of our efforts across trivial pursuits? The answer lies in a principle that might initially seem counterintuitive. By embracing our constraints, we can actually enhance our focus and amplify our impact. This is where the concept of focused resource allocation comes into play. At its core, this approach is about treating your resources, your time, energy, and attention, as precious and finite. It's about recognizing that every yes to one thing is inherently a no to something else. By accepting this reality and making conscious choices about where to invest your resources, you gain a sharper sense of purpose and direction. This method is grounded in resource allocation theory and the Pareto principle, often known as the 80-20 rule. These concepts suggest that a small number of high-impact activities often yield the majority of our desired results. By identifying and focusing on these core elements, we can achieve greater outcomes with less wasted input. So how do we put this principle into practice? The first step is to engage in a process of ruthless prioritization. This means taking a hard look at all the activities, commitments, and goals that currently occupy your time and energy. Which of these truly align with your most important values and long-term objectives? Which are merely habitual or driven by external expectations? This process of filtering out non-essentials can be challenging. It often requires us to say no to things that are good but not great. It might mean declining invitations, stepping back from certain commitments, or letting go of projects that no longer serve your highest priorities. But remember, every no to something less important is a yes to something crucial. As you engage in this prioritization process, you'll likely find that your energy naturally begins to channel into high-impact areas. These are the activities and pursuits that yield the greatest returns in terms of personal growth, professional development, or whatever metrics matter most to you. By concentrating your limited resources in these areas, you set the stage for exponential progress. One effective method to enhance this resource focus is through iterative refinement. Start by listing out your priorities, then challenge yourself to cut that list in half, then do it again. This process forces you to really grapple with what's truly essential. It's not about doing less for the sake of doing less. It's about doing more of what really matters. As you engage in this process, you'll inevitably encounter the need for strategic trade-offs. This is where the real power of constraint-driven focus comes into play. By accepting that you can't do everything, you free yourself to excel at the things that are most important. Embracing these trade-offs isn't about limitation, it's about liberation. It's about giving yourself permission to be extraordinary in the areas that truly count. This approach naturally lends itself to a kind of minimalism in personal task planning. Rather than maintaining an endless to-do list, you might find yourself working with a much shorter, more focused set of priorities. This doesn't mean you're doing less, it means you're doing more of what's truly impactful. Of course, maintaining this level of focus requires ongoing effort and attention. It's not a one-time exercise, but a continuous practice. Regular audits of your resource distribution can help ensure that you're staying true to your priorities. As your personal goals evolve, and they will, your resource allocation should shift accordingly. Over time, this practice of deliberate resource focusing becomes internalized. It becomes less of a conscious effort and more of an intuitive approach to life and work. You'll find yourself naturally gravitating towards high-impact activities and more easily recognizing and avoiding those that don't align with your core objectives. To reinforce this approach, consider incorporating some practical exercises into your routine. A weekly priority checklist with strict inclusion criteria can help keep you focused on what truly matters. This isn't just another to-do list. It's a carefully curated selection of the most important tasks and activities that will move you towards your goals. Monthly resource distribution reviews can also be incredibly valuable. Take time to step back and assess how you've been allocating your time, energy, and other resources. Are they aligned with your stated priorities? Are there areas where you're over-investing or under-investing? This regular check-in allows you to make course corrections and ensure that your day-to-day actions are consistently supporting your long-term objectives. As you embrace this focused approach to resource allocation, you'll likely see a progression in your outcomes. At a basic level, you might notice that you're consistently giving attention to your top priorities. This alone can be transformative, as it ensures that the most important things in your life are getting the attention they deserve. As you continue to refine your practice, you might find yourself making steady progress towards your core goals without the usual distractions. This is where the power of focused resources really begins to show. By consistently investing in what matters most, you create momentum that can carry you through challenges and setbacks. The ultimate goal is to achieve an unwavering alignment between your actions and your highest personal returns. In this state, everything you do contributes meaningfully to your most important objectives. It's a state of profound clarity and purpose, where your resources are so well allocated that progress becomes almost effortless. Of course, as with any powerful approach, there are potential pitfalls to be aware of. One common issue is the tendency to spread your focus too thin, even within your prioritized areas. If you find yourself in this situation, it's important to step back and reassess. Are all of these priorities truly essential? Can some be deferred or delegated? Sometimes, further pruning of your priority list is necessary to maintain true focus. Another challenge is losing track of evolving goals. Our objectives naturally shift over time as we grow and our circumstances change. It's crucial to regularly revisit your goals and ensure that your resource allocation still aligns with what's truly important to you. This might mean periodically reevaluating your priorities and making significant shifts in how you invest your time and energy. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on how this approach to resource allocation might transform your life. Imagine the clarity and sense of purpose that comes from knowing that every ounce of your effort is directed towards what truly matters to you. Picture the progress you could make if all of your resources were laser-focused on your most important goals. Remember, the journey of focused resource allocation is not about restriction or deprivation. It's about liberation. It's about freeing yourself from the tyranny of trivial pursuits and aligning your life with your deepest values and aspirations. By embracing your constraints and making conscious choices about where to invest your precious resources, you set the stage for extraordinary achievement and fulfillment. As we look ahead to the next chapter, prepare yourself to expand your perspective even further. We're about to explore a dimension of constraint mastery that will allow you to navigate the uncertainties of the future with confidence and agility. But for now, let the principles of focused resource allocation settle into your mind, ready to guide your decisions and actions in every area of your life. Chapter 7, Scenario Insights. Imagine you're standing at the helm of a ship, navigating through unpredictable waters. The horizon is shrouded in mist, concealing what lies ahead. How do you prepare for the unknown? How do you ensure that whatever emerges from the fog doesn't catch you off guard? This chapter invites you to explore a powerful approach that can transform how you navigate the uncertainties of life. We're about to delve into a method that doesn't just help you react to challenges as they arise, but prepares you to meet them head-on with confidence and agility. At its core, this approach is about developing a kind of foresight, not the mystical ability to predict the future, but a practical skill that allows you to anticipate and prepare for a range of possible scenarios. It's about training your mind to see beyond the immediate horizon, to envision potential obstacles and opportunities before they materialize. But why is this so crucial? In our rapidly changing world, surprises are inevitable. New technologies, shifting market conditions, unexpected personal circumstances, these can all throw even the best-laid plans into disarray. Without a strategy for anticipating and adapting to these changes, we risk being constantly caught off balance, reacting rather than responding thoughtfully to new challenges. This reactive stance often leads to anxiety and a sense of powerlessness. We might feel like we're always one step behind, struggling to catch up with a reality that's constantly shifting beneath our feet. It's like trying to navigate that misty sea without a compass or a map. Every new obstacle feels like a potential disaster. So how do we shift from this reactive stance to a proactive one? How do we gain a sense of control in an inherently unpredictable world? The answer lies in a practice that might initially seem counterintuitive. By actively imagining and preparing for potential constraints and challenges, we can actually reduce our anxiety about the future. This is where the concept of scenario insights comes into play. At its heart, this approach is about acknowledging future unknowns and preparing multiple strategic responses. It's not about trying to predict exactly what will happen, but about expanding your mental flexibility and readiness to handle a range of possible situations. This method draws on scenario planning models used by organizations to navigate complex and uncertain environments. But we're going to adapt these powerful tools for personal use, applying them to the unique landscape of your individual challenges and aspirations. So how do we begin this process of developing scenario insights? The first step is to engage in a practice of envisioning potential constraints. This means taking time to brainstorm possible future limitations that might impact your goals or plans. These could be external factors like economic changes or technological shifts, or internal factors like personal commitments or skill gaps. As you engage in this brainstorming process, try to structure these hypothetical conditions and outcomes. What might happen if a certain constraint arises? How would it impact your plans? What knock-on effects might it have in other areas of your life? This process of predictive thinking expands your mental flexibility. It trains your mind to consider multiple possibilities rather than fixating on a single expected outcome. This flexibility is crucial in a world where the unexpected is often the norm. But envisioning potential scenarios is just the beginning. The real power of this approach lies in how you use these insights to prepare and adapt. This is where techniques for scenario planning come into play. One effective method is to break down scenarios into manageable elements. Rather than trying to plan for every detail of a complex situation, focus on key decision points or critical factors that could significantly impact your response. As you develop these scenarios, compare alternate outcomes to refine your strategies. How might different responses play out? What are the potential risks and benefits of each approach? This comparative analysis helps you develop more robust and flexible plans. A crucial part of this process is developing contingency plans for different constraint sets. These aren't rigid scripts to follow, but flexible frameworks that give you a starting point for adapting to new situations. Think of them as strategic building blocks that you can quickly assemble in response to emerging challenges. The real test of these scenario insights comes when you need to apply them to real-time adjustments. When surprises occur, and they will, your goal is to quickly adapt your strategies based on the insights you've developed. This doesn't mean you'll have a perfect solution ready for every situation, but you'll have a framework for responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. One of the key benefits of this approach is that it allows you to leverage rehearsed responses to maintain equilibrium in the face of unexpected challenges. Just like a well-practiced musician can improvise within a familiar structure, you'll be able to adapt your plans while staying true to your core objectives. Over time, this practice builds trust in your own readiness. You develop a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you've considered and prepared for a range of possibilities. This confidence itself becomes a powerful tool, allowing you to approach uncertain situations with calm and clarity. To really embed this practice into your life, consider incorporating some practical exercises. Monthly scenario planning sessions can be a valuable addition to your routine. Set aside time to review your goals and plans, and imagine potential constraints or challenges that might arise. Use this time to develop and refine your contingency plans. Another useful exercise is creating a set of if-then responses to likely constraints. These are simple, actionable plans that you can quickly implement if certain situations arise. For example, if specific constraint occurs, then I will specific action. These provide clear direction in moments of uncertainty. As you become more adept at developing and using scenario insights, you'll likely see a progression in your outcomes. At a basic level, you'll develop a fundamental preparedness for common setbacks. This alone can significantly reduce stress and increase your sense of control. As you continue to practice, you might find yourself confidently navigating unexpected obstacles. Situations that might once have thrown you off course become manageable challenges that you can address with calm and strategy. The ultimate goal is to achieve a state of seamless adaptability in the face of evolving challenges. In this state, you're not just reacting to changes, but smoothly pivoting and adjusting your approach as new information and circumstances emerge. Of course, as with any powerful approach, there are potential pitfalls to be aware of. One common issue is the tendency to overcomplicate scenarios. It's easy to get lost in the details of hypothetical situations, creating elaborate plans for unlikely events. If you find yourself in this situation, try to refocus on a few key variables that are most likely to impact your goals. Another challenge is the risk of panicking when plans fail. Remember, the goal of scenario planning isn't to predict the future perfectly, but to develop the mental flexibility to adapt to whatever arises. If you find yourself freezing up when things don't go as expected, take a deep breath and remind yourself that unpredictability is part of the process. Your job is to pivot swiftly, drawing on the insights you've developed. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on how this approach to scenario planning might transform your relationship with uncertainty. Imagine the sense of confidence and readiness that comes from knowing you've considered and prepared for a range of possibilities. Picture yourself navigating life's challenges with the agility of a skilled improviser, able to adapt and thrive in any circumstance. Remember, the practice of developing scenario insights isn't about trying to control the uncontrollable. It's about cultivating a mindset of preparedness and adaptability. It's about transforming the anxiety of uncertainty into the excitement of possibility. By anticipating potential constraints and preparing flexible responses, you set the stage for resilience and growth in the face of any challenge. As we look ahead to the next chapter, prepare yourself to explore a dimension of constraint mastery that will elevate your approach from reactive problem-solving to proactive innovation. We're about to delve into a realm where limitations become the very fuel for creativity and progress. But for now, let the principles of scenario insights settle into your mind, ready to guide you through the mists of uncertainty towards your most ambitious goals. Chapter 8: Sustainable Innovation. Imagine you're tending a garden, not just any garden, but one that represents your personal growth and development. In this garden, the plants are your skills, your knowledge, your adaptability. Now picture this garden not as a static, perfectly manicured space, but as a dynamic, ever-evolving ecosystem. How do you ensure that this garden doesn't just bloom once, but continues to flourish season after season, year after year? This chapter invites you to explore a powerful approach that can transform how you view personal growth and innovation. We're about to delve into a method that doesn't just help you overcome challenges as they arise, but turns those very challenges into the fuel for continuous, sustainable progress. At its core, this approach is about developing a mindset that sees constraints not as occasional hurdles to be cleared, but as constant companions on your journey of self-improvement. It's about cultivating a relationship with limitations that allows you to thrive, not in spite of them, but because of them. But why is this so crucial? In our fast-paced world, it's easy to fall into the trap of seeking quick fixes and instant solutions. We might experience bursts of growth or moments of inspiration only to find ourselves stagnating once the initial excitement wears off. It's like planting a garden and expecting it to thrive without ongoing care and attention. This sporadic approach to personal development often leads to frustration and a sense of being stuck. We might make progress in fits and starts, but struggle to maintain consistent forward momentum. It's like trying to navigate a ship by making occasional dramatic course corrections rather than maintaining a steady hand on the wheel. So, how do we shift from this intermittent approach to one of sustained, continuous growth? How do we ensure that our personal evolution doesn't plateau but continues to accelerate over time? The answer lies in a practice that might initially seem counterintuitive. By consistently engaging with and embracing our constraints, we can create a perpetual engine for innovation and growth. This is where the concept of sustainable innovation comes into play. At its heart, this approach is about ensuring long-term growth rather than temporary gains. It's about reinforcing adaptability not just as a skill you call upon in times of crisis, but as a fundamental personal habit that shapes how you interact with the world on a daily basis. This method draws inspiration from continuous improvement methodologies used in various fields to drive ongoing progress and innovation. But we're going to adapt these powerful principles for personal use, applying them to the unique landscape of your individual growth journey. So how do we begin this process of cultivating sustainable innovation? The first step is to shift your perspective on constraints. Instead of viewing them as obstacles to be overcome and then forgotten, start seeing them as checkpoints for personal evolution. Each limitation you encounter becomes an opportunity to refine your strategies, expand your capabilities, and deepen your understanding of yourself and your environment. As you engage with constraints in this way, you'll find yourself incrementally improving your strategies through repeated refinement. This isn't about making dramatic leaps forward, but about consistently making small adjustments and improvements. Over time, these incremental changes compound, leading to significant personal growth. One of the key aspects of this approach is maintaining momentum by embracing each new limit you encounter. Rather than feeling discouraged when you bump up against a new constraint, you learn to welcome it as a sign that you're pushing your boundaries and entering new territory in your personal development. This long-term engagement with constraints involves regularly revisiting old boundaries to glean fresh insights. A limitation that once seemed insurmountable might now, with your expanded skills and perspective, reveal new opportunities for growth. By treating constraint navigation as a routine skill, you strengthen your resilience against shifting circumstances. As you consistently practice this approach, you'll find that innovation and adaptability begin to integrate into your very identity. Adaptability becomes not just something you do, but a core part of who you are. You start to recognize improvement not as a discrete goal to be achieved, but as an ongoing personal trait that defines your approach to life. This shift in self-perception is powerful. When you see yourself as inherently adaptable and innovative, you approach challenges with confidence and curiosity. You let this spirit of innovation permeate all facets of your life, from your professional pursuits to your personal relationships and hobbies. To really embed this practice of sustainable innovation into your life, consider incorporating some practical exercises. Seasonal reviews of your constraint-driven progress can be invaluable. Set aside time every few months to reflect on the constraints you've encountered, how you've adapted to them, and what you've learned in the process. Use these reviews to set new goals and refine your strategies for the coming period. Another powerful practice is building personal rituals that celebrate small adaptations. These don't have to be grand gestures. It could be as simple as taking a moment at the end of each day to acknowledge one way you successfully navigated a constraint or found an innovative solution to a challenge. These small celebrations reinforce the habit of seeing constraints as opportunities for growth. As you become more adept at this practice of sustainable innovation, you'll likely see a progression in your outcomes. At a basic level, you'll find yourself regularly updating your methods for handling constraints. What once felt like a struggle becomes a natural process of adaptation and refinement. As you continue to practice, you might find that seamless adaptation becomes integrated into your daily routines. Challenges that once would have thrown you off course now become opportunities for creative problem solving and personal growth. You navigate constraints with a sense of ease and even excitement. The ultimate goal is to achieve an enduring cycle of positive transformation fueled by constraints. In this state, each limitation you encounter becomes a catalyst for innovation and growth. You're not just responding to challenges as they arise, but actively seeking out new constraints as opportunities for development. Of course, as with any powerful approach, there are potential pitfalls to be aware of. One common issue is plateauing in growth. Even with a commitment to continuous improvement, it's possible to fall into comfortable routines that no longer challenge you. If you find yourself in this situation, try experimenting with new, self-imposed constraints to reignite your innovative spirit. Set yourself challenges that push you out of your comfort zone and force you to think in new ways. Another risk is slipping into complacency. The very ease with which you navigate constraints can sometimes lead to a false sense that you no longer need to actively engage in the process of innovation. To counter this, set periodic reminders to re-examine your approach and adjust your strategies. Stay vigilant in seeking out new opportunities for growth and development. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on how this approach to sustainable innovation might transform your personal growth journey. Imagine the sense of confidence and excitement that comes from knowing that every constraint you encounter is an opportunity for development. Picture yourself navigating life's challenges with the agility of a seasoned innovator, constantly evolving and adapting to new circumstances. Remember, the practice of sustainable innovation isn't about achieving a final state of perfection. It's about embracing a journey of continuous improvement and adaptation. It's about transforming the way you interact with the world, seeing every limitation as a stepping stone to new heights of personal growth and achievement. As we look ahead to the final chapter, prepare yourself to explore how this journey of constraint mastery culminates in a profound shift in your relationship with limitations. We're about to delve into a realm where constraints cease to be external forces acting upon you and instead become integral parts of your personal narrative of growth and success. But for now, let the principles of sustainable innovation settle into your mind, ready to guide you towards a future of endless possibility and continuous evolution. Chapter 9: Renewed Boundaries. As we reach the final chapter of our journey together, let's take a moment to reflect on the path we've traveled. We began by learning to embrace limits, then discovered how to reframe scarcity and leverage time. We explored designing within constraints, mapping our limitations, focusing our resources, and gaining scenario insights. Most recently, we delved into the concept of sustainable innovation. Each step has been a building block, leading us to this culminating idea: the power of renewed boundaries. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, unexplored territory. The landscape before you is not a static painting, but a dynamic, ever-shifting panorama. The boundaries you see are not walls, but gateways to new realms of possibility. This is the essence of renewed boundaries, a perspective that transforms every limit into a launching pad for growth. As we explore this final concept, you'll discover that the journey of constraint mastery doesn't end here. In fact, it's just beginning. The skills and mindset you've developed are not meant for a single challenge or a particular phase of life. They are lifelong tools, designed to evolve and adapt as you do. The power of what you've learned throughout this book lies in its universal applicability. You now possess the ability to approach all challenges with a newfound confidence. Where once you might have seen insurmountable obstacles, you now see opportunities for creative problem-solving and personal growth. Constraints are no longer your adversaries. They have become your permanent allies in the pursuit of excellence. This shift in perspective doesn't just impact your individual pursuits. It has the potential to revolutionize your relationships as well. By applying adaptive thinking to your interpersonal interactions, you'll find yourself navigating complex social dynamics with greater ease and understanding. Moreover, your heightened awareness of constraints fosters empathy. You'll be better equipped to understand and appreciate the limitations others face, leading to more compassionate and effective communication. Consider for a moment what you're now capable of achieving. Tasks that once seemed daunting now feel manageable. Goals that appeared out of reach are suddenly within your grasp. You've developed the ability to craft solutions under any conditions, drawing on your inner resources and the creative potential inherent in every constraint. But the true magic of this approach lies in its compounding effects over time. As you continue to practice these concepts, you'll find that your results improve with less and less effort. What once required conscious thought becomes second nature. You'll develop an intuitive approach to constraints, effortlessly adapting to new challenges as they arise. This natural fluency allows you to reach personal milestones more efficiently. You're no longer fighting against limitations, but working in harmony with them. This synergy creates a lasting sense of self-directed evolution, a feeling that you're constantly growing and improving, guided by the very constraints that once held you back. As you progress on this journey, it's crucial to recognize the cyclical nature of limits. Just when you think you've mastered one set of constraints, new ones will inevitably arise. But rather than feeling discouraged, you'll learn to embrace each new boundary as a fresh opportunity for growth. These renewed limits are not setbacks. They're signs that you're pushing into new territories, expanding your capabilities, and continuing to evolve. This ongoing process requires a commitment to continual mindset renewal. The mental models that serve you well today may need refreshing as conditions change. Adaptability isn't a skill you acquire once and for all. It's an evergreen ability that needs constant nurturing and reinforcement. By staying open to new perspectives and regularly challenging your assumptions, You ensure that your approach remains relevant and effective, no matter what challenges you face. Perhaps the most profound benefit of this journey is the enduring strength and direction it provides. As you navigate life's ups and downs, you'll hold on to a long-range vision shaped by evolving constraints. This vision isn't rigid or fixed, it's flexible and responsive, adapting to new realities while maintaining its core essence. With this guiding star, you'll find yourself persisting in the face of future challenges with a sense of cultivated ease. Not because the challenges themselves have become easier, but because you've become more adept at navigating them. As we conclude this book, I want to leave you with a powerful truth. The mastery of constraints is not about reaching a final destination. It's about embracing a journey of perpetual growth and transformation. Every limit you encounter, every boundary you push against, is an invitation to evolve, to innovate, to become a better version of yourself. The skills and mindset you've developed through this book are not just tools for problem solving, they're catalysts for personal revolution. You now possess the ability to turn every obstacle into an opportunity, every setback into a setup for a comeback. You've unlocked a superpower, the ability to thrive not in spite of constraints, but because of them. Imagine the possibilities that lie ahead. With your newfound abilities, you can approach any challenge, any goal, any dream with confidence and creativity. You're no longer at the mercy of external circumstances. You're the architect of your own growth, using every constraint as a building block for success. But perhaps the most profound transformation is the one that's occurred within you. You've not just learned new skills, you've cultivated a new way of being. You're now someone who sees potential where others see problems, who finds abundance in scarcity, who creates opportunities out of limitations. This shift in identity is the true payoff of your journey, a fundamental change in how you perceive yourself and your place in the world. As you close this book and step back into your life, carry with you the knowledge that you are now equipped to handle whatever comes your way. You have the power to turn scarcity into strategic advantage, to transform limits into launch pads for success. Every constraint you encounter is not an end, but a beginning, a renewed boundary inviting you to grow, to innovate, to excel. Your journey of constraint mastery doesn't end here. It's just beginning. Each day brings new opportunities to apply what you've learned, to refine your skills, to push your boundaries. Embrace these opportunities with open arms and an open mind. Let every constraint be a reminder of your capacity for growth, every limit a challenge to your creativity. You've unlocked the secret to turning scarcity into your superpower. But mastering constraints is just the beginning of your journey towards personal excellence. To truly leverage this newfound ability, you need to cultivate a strategic mindset that can navigate the complex landscape of personal growth and effective planning. How can you ensure that every constraint you encounter becomes a stepping stone to success? What if there was a way to combine your constraint mastery with powerful critical thinking tools? The answer lies in developing a strategic mind. To continue your transformation and unlock the full potential of constraint mastery, dive into the audiobook, The Strategic Mind, Critical Thinking Tools for Personal Growth and Effective Planning. Tap the center of the video now to continue your transformation journey.